Have you ever had something happen in your life that was so profound and so transformational that it affected the rest of your life? I have. It happened about 30 years ago. I was driving with our youngest daughter at the time. She was about 17 years old. I was sharing with her my concerns over the fact that her older sister had advised us that she was going to marry a young man who was neither Jewish nor white. Now we love Danny. He was and is still a good friend and a class act. But I was sharing my concern over the fact that they were going to have added problems because of religious differences and cultural differences. My daughter, Karen, with whom I was driving, expressed to me her perception that I must be prejudiced, which really set me back because I'm not prejudiced. I explained to her that I had grown up after World War II in a situation where anti Semitism was still rampant, even in America, and that my family taught me anything but prejudice. In fact, prejudice was anathema to anything that we felt or did, regardless of whether it was about color of skin or religion or any other characteristic that differentiates people. As I explained that to her, I went on to say, I think that anyone in this country or anywhere should have the right to do anything they're capable of doing, regardless of their religion, their background, or the color of their skin. To which she responded, unless, of course, they want to marry your daughter. Well, the first comment really threw me. This one totally set me back. In fact, for 20, 25, 30 seconds, I recall saying nothing and really just reflecting upon what she had said. What I realized and expressed to her after my thought was there are tapes going on in my head that I didn't even realize were there. That's a problem. It's my problem, and I will fix it. Months later, when Heidi and Danny got married, I, of course, as the father of the bride, was asked to make a toast. It turned into more of a lecture, as it happens, as I went on to express to all of our friends and family and Danny's friends and family the transformation that had occurred months earlier. And I described a number of aspects of the introspection it had caused me to go through and the change that it brought to my life and the gratification and satisfaction and pride that it brought to me, that because of Karen's comments, I had to really think very deeply about how I felt. And I realized, of course, that I was prejudiced, but the prejudice depended on crossing a particular line, a line that had to do with marrying our daughter. I went on to express, in the context of this quote lecture, a story about a television show that had run early in my marriage with Sherry. It was called Julia. Julia was a young black professional woman played by Diane Carroll. She and her son Corey, who was about 7 or 8, had moved into a nice apartment or condominium in New York. Julia went off to work in the morning. I'm sure Corey was left with a nanny. And she just told him to go ahead and hang out, play. Apparently, there was no school at that time. And she would be back in the evening after work. During the day, Corey made friends with a young boy down the hall who was about his same age, white, freckles, red hair, if I recall correctly, kind of a howdy doody figure, or a Dennis the Menace figure for those of you who can go back that far. So Earl J. Wagadorn, which was his name, great name, never forgotten it. Earl J. and Corey played together all day. Julia came home in the evening. When she came home, Corey introduced her to Earl J. and Earl J. to his mom. They both acknowledged the pleasure of meeting one another. Julia went into the kitchen to make dinner and told the boys that she was going to go make dinner. They should just play together and she would call when dinner was ready. Julia leaves. Earl J. Wagadorn says to Corey, "Do you know your mom's black?" To which Corey responded, "So am I." And Earl J's response was priceless. It was, "You are?" And it really made it clear to me, and the essence of what I feel now as a result of many, many years of continuous introspection and discussion about this, is we personalize individuals. When we personalize and have a relationship with an individual, it really doesn't matter their skin color, or their religion. What really is important is the individual, their character, and other aspects of them. But when we talk about it as a concept, it becomes a bigger deal until we've actually had the ability to talk directly to and really engage with people of a different color of skin or a different religion. Certainly, skin color right now is a big deal. Anti-Semitism is a big deal. Gay rights is a big deal. So we have all of these things that we can really use to discriminate one another. My takeaway from all of this, and my advice to all of my friends and those listening, is I'd ask you whether you're white or black, Hispanic, gay, it doesn't matter. If you're a human being, I want you to put yourself into a situation such as mine. I don't want you to think about it. I want you to do your very best to put yourself into that situation and ask yourself, how would I feel if my son or daughter came to me and said they wanted to marry someone of a different color of skin? Once again, I think whether we're white or black, we all have to deal with this issue. What would we feel like if a black person came to the door and we were white, selling or asking for donations? Would we feel differently about that person than we would if the person coming to the door were white? What would happen if our daughter or son told us that they were going to marry a small person, as was the case with a friend of ours? How would we react to that? It's easy to talk about not being prejudiced until you're put into that situation. So I want you to put yourself into the situation as much as you can and really think about how would you react. Because I realized that while thinking I was not prejudiced in any way, it was just a matter of how far I was willing to take that position. I believe that in order to get through this terrible racial strife and the anti-Semitism that is growing regularly, I think we need to develop relationships with people of different religions, people of different color, skin color, and we really need to sit down and talk with them. We need to understand that they perceive the world based on how they've grown up. We perceive the world based on how we've grown up. We each have our own truths. The next video that I intend to do is about those truths. But we each have our own truths, and it's essential that well-meaning white people, well-meaning black people, and people of other religions and skin colors sit down and listen to the truth of the other person. Black people need to listen to the truth of white people, and Hispanic people need to listen to the truth of white people, just as white people need to listen to their truth. And I'm not talking about engaging, I'm talking about listening. There will be lots of things that you will disagree about, and more than likely, as has happened with me, there will be many things that you didn't realize. Until we take the time to really do that and listen carefully to the truths of other people, I don't believe we're going to make any progress in the racial strife that we currently have in this country and the anti-Semitism and racism that exists within this country and around the world. So thank you for taking the time to listen to this. I expect to publish 3 more videos over the next 3 weeks. The next, as I stated, we'll be talking about truth and the truths that each of us have and the implications of those various truths.